I can fix it!
I'm gonna wreck it! Ah!
I hate to see my beloved home like this. They're eating everything.
I don't think he can fix it. Wreck-It Ralph, the game, was released on the DS, 3DS, and the Wii around the same time on October 30th, which is honestly a bit strange to me as the movie came out November 2nd, a couple days later, which is weird. You would think that you would have the game come out after so it doesn't spoil anything or something like that. But what makes it even weirder is that the story in this game almost feels like a sequel. What? But if I had to guess why they did this maybe, it's because they were probably restricted on what they could and couldn't put in from the movies because they didn't want to spoil the main plot of the main movie. However, my guess to why is just completely contradicted at the start because in the opening cutscene, Ralph just tells you pretty much everything that happens in the movie except for the twist villain. Like, what is the point of that? For some reason, Nintendo also released a launch trailer 5 months after it came out. Like, did they forget? More on the game itself though. The game itself was developed by Pipeworks Studios, who have been tossed around many different times by different companies. They're a bit of a support studio who also develops their own games. Some examples of this are Rampage Total Destruction in the GameCube and PS2 era. I love those games. And they even helped out with the Devil May Cry HD collection, which got me into Devil May Cry, which is a really big one, honestly. And not to mention, they even ported Boogie to the PS2. Holy shit! Before we start, let's talk about a bit of the differences I could find in each version. I'm just gonna say it right out of the box. Why does the 3DS version exist? It's on the DS. If you have a 3DS, you could just play the DS version on your 3DS. It's not that much different than the 3DS version either. The DS version has slightly different music for some reason, and it also doesn't have the 2 CGI cutscenes in the game, like the Wii and 3DS version, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. The CG cutscenes got replaced by this atrocious mess in the DS version. It's weird too, he just monologues to himself for a while and just randomly says he's gonna wreck it, just absolutely at random. Wait a minute. I actually know why he does this. In the 3DS and Wii version, he says, "I'm gonna wreck it," as that's his quote, in his technical video game in the game during the cutscene. It makes sense for him to say it in here. They were just too lazy to change the line in the DS version, so it makes it just look like he's just randomly saying it since you don't have the CG cutscene there to provide context behind the word. And what's even worse, I don't even know why they did this. The DS can easily handle CG cutscenes. Like, look at Final Fantasy IV over here. Like, god damn, this looks great. Why aren't there CG cutscenes in the DS version? Moving on to the menus. The DS and 3DS version are pretty similar, but they move Felix's face around, but that's pretty much it. The Wii version looks completely different with no face sprite work at all. But really, other than the CG cutscene at the end as well, those are pretty much all the differences. Which again, it makes me even wonder why you bothered to make a DS version when the DS version is barely any different than the 3DS version. But enough about that, let's actually talk about the video game. My name is Oren Clubs and this is the worst platformer ever made, where I play bad platformers you suggest to see if I can find the worst, as today we're going to be looking at Wreck-It Ralph on the 3DS. Why the 3DS, do you ask? Think about this. You have a movie about video games. This could be anything your heart desires. It could be an evolution of the Fix-It Felix arcade game that's present in the game or something like that. But no, what do you decide to turn it into? A generic 2D platformer. And that is why I'm here talking about it today, because they should have made it maybe a kart racer or something, so I didn't need to talk about this. God damn it. Anyway, as I said, it is a 2D platformer. You move to the left, you move to the right. You avoid the obstacles, you get to the end of the level. Pretty simple and straightforward. However, in this game, you can either play as Ralph or Felix at any time, and they do have differences, which is neat. Ralph can push stuff, break crates, he does more damage overall, and is a very heavy character. While Felix is light and does less damage, but can double jump and wall jump and fix stuff, and overall move around pretty fast. I actually like this idea a lot. It reminds me of Donkey Kong Country, where you can swap the Kongs in that game whenever you want to tackle any obstacle you want, which is an amazing idea. Unfortunately, the output between both games are vastly different, and Wreck-It Ralph doesn't do it very good. Let me explain. Instead of playing whichever character you want to do sometimes in Donkey Kong or something like that, you could just play any character in that game to do pretty much anything. There are some times where you have to be a certain Kong, but that's only a little bit of the game, not a lot of the game. In here, you're required to play one of the characters a lot of the time. See something you need to fix? You're forced to play as Felix. You see crates you can't get past? You're forced to play as Ralph. You don't feel as free in which character you can play most of the time. which is a disappointment because I thought this mechanic was a good idea. There are only 3 worlds in this game, 4 levels in each of them, and they're basically the same, minus each world being a certain theme, like a city theme or a space station theme or a candy theme from the movie. They pretty much are the exact same basic levels, and there's nothing really new being thrown at you minus a few levels. Once you beat maybe 2 levels in the game, you've seen what 80% of the game has to offer. It's not that exciting. But as always, I'll talk about the things they do add later in the video, but they're still not that substantial in the first place anyway. Since we are playing the 3DS version, did they add anything substantial for the touchscreen? I didn't mention it yet, but to swap characters in this game, you push L. And the only thing you can really do with the touchscreen is interact with the menu or swap characters. And you could just open the menu with the start button. So everything that you can interact with in the touchscreen, you have a button for anyway. So the only useful thing about the bottom screen is the health, the lives, and the amount of coins you have. Everything else is useless. So for the rest of the video, just to make viewing it easier, I'm only going to show you the top screen because the bottom screen doesn't really have anything unless I need to bring up health at some point. I talked about the controls a bit earlier, but how does it actually feel controlling both of them? Horrible. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's not actually that bad. It's definitely not good. When you push any button, whether it's to move or attack, it feels as though the game takes a split second to think about what you just pressed before it actually decides to do it, and this accounts for everything. The animations on the characters are fine actually, there's nothing really wrong with them, but I have one nitpick. When Felix jumps, he does his signature Fix-It Felix pose. And when he wall jumps, he still does the pose. It really doesn't feel like he's wall jumping here. There's no impact to it. It just looks strange. I know it's supposed to be like his pose, but who cares? It looks bad. Speaking of looking bad, the game itself kind of looks, I mean, it's not really disgusting, but not really great. The city world looks okay to most of the time. Most of the time you're just going to be looking at cement walls anyway. Maybe some bricks now and then. The space station looks actually not that bad. I actually don't have that many complaints here. But the candy world just looks bad. Gross even. How do you mess up a candy world? Believe it or not, there are actually collectibles in this game, 2 in each level, and they give you some concept art. Yay, I guess. At least it's something. However, I have one issue with this. In most of the levels, not all of them, the exit to the level isn't really obvious. You'll just be walking through the level, having a good time maybe if you're weird like me, and then you get to the end and you're like, wait, the level's over? This is not really an issue most of the time, but there are some levels where the collectibles are very, very close to the exit, and since you don't know it's the exit, you just walk into the exit and beat the level and miss the collectible. And I didn't go back for them because I'm gonna be honest, I did not 100% Wreck-It Ralph on the 3DS. The audacity! It's been off the screen for a while now, but the bottom screen does have a health bar. Does it really matter though? Not really. I only died to damage once in this game because I got so bored with it, I just kept walking into obstacles not caring at all. You have so much health in this game and so many lives. The game is honestly a joke in difficulty. And that's not even because you have so many lives or too much health. The levels themselves just pose no threat at all. I felt nothing playing this game. But that's an overview of pretty much the entire game. There's not really anything exciting going for it. So how about we go step by step through the entire game together so I can show you that there's really not much here. One issue before we start going through this game together though. Like I said before, the game is incredibly basic and there really isn't anything new for each level. So there may be times, a lot of the time, where I just blast by a level without saying much. It's not because I'm lazy, well, I am lazy, but there really isn't nothing to talk about. Unless you want me to tell you if each building is up to legal code or something like that, which I'm not doing. So let's start. When you start the game, you get a pretty decent looking CG cutscene of Ralph talking about who he is, what his friends are doing, and he pretty much spoils the entire first movie. I mean, okay. After he's done spoiling the movie, he pretty much just chills with everyone, and then a bunch of bugs attack, and Ralph and Felix decide to stop them. I really do like this part with a million bugs here. The frame rate just drops so much. That's not me editing in, I'm just looping it over and over again because it's noticeably lower. If I'm being honest, they probably spent their entire budget on this CG cutscene. Once this cutscene is over, we get into the tutorial level, and you learn pretty much everything I mentioned before. As Ralph, you wreck stuff. As Felix, you fix stuff. You know how it is. It does show you that if you fall into a pit, you completely die, which is kind of entertaining actually. You get Vanellope actually saying funny stuff at you when you die.
Video games don't rot your brain, but something obviously did.
And that's why I decided to perform my own vasectomy. After we beat the tutorial level, we get to the world hub. You can do the worlds in any order you want here, and they're pretty much all the same difficulty-wise, so it doesn't really matter in that aspect. I just went left to right because why not? The only level you cannot play is the boss, which we'll get to later. World 1, Level 1. We get a cutscene, if you call it that. Okay, let's talk about this seriously. You just Photoshop the characters into your cutscene. But why are the models like completely different? Just look at them. I swear they're not the same models you see anywhere in the game at all. Did they make new models for this? Why? Why not just paste the already existing models in or something? It's bizarre. It's just so grating looking at this entire thing. Anyway, they talk about how this is Felix's home and they don't appreciate the bugs destroying it, so they decide to stop it. Honestly, I don't mind the first level. You start in the forest on the ground and slowly climb your way up, ascending through the buildings, which is honestly pretty cool. Though like I said before, the buildings aren't fully constructed, so visually most of them are just giant cement slabs that you walk through, and then you occasionally see the sky sometimes. And the rest of the world is pretty much that. Level 2 is the same as level 1, just a bit of a different layout. There are a bit more jump pads in this level than the last one. Also, this part right here with the crusher that's supposed to crush you, how are you supposed to get past this? Just look at it. It's timed perfectly with you going under it. I don't know how you're supposed to avoid this. I mean, it doesn't one-shot you luckily, you just take a bit of damage, but it's like, what? Level 3 has absolutely nothing new. However, with the falling platforms on this level, I did notice something. I think it might only happen in this level, but when you jump on a falling platform, your character just stops moving and is unable to move. I can't move left or right anymore when I jump on one of these falling platforms. I just have to jump again. It's very strange. Level 4, again, nothing new at all. I told you this is going to be happening. Though there is a bug in this level. Not the enemy bugs, like a game-breaking bug. Though it's not game-breaking. Yeah. This bug also happens in a couple other levels as well. When you play as Felix, some parts in this level zoom in a lot, and it's really hard to see. I don't know why it does this in some of the levels. It's annoying. But that's all the levels in World 1, so now we get to fight the boss. Or so you think. So a bit of a small spoiler here. Every single boss in this game is incredibly easy. However, you cannot fight a single boss until you beat every single platforming level in this game. Why? Why couldn't you just have it so that way the player beats World 1 and then fights the World 1 boss? That doesn't happen here. The bosses are so incredibly easy, this wouldn't even be a difficulty jump. It would feel natural, which maybe this is what this game was going for, to feel as unnatural as possible. Anyway, on to World 2, Hero's Duty. These cutscenes are at the start of every world and they're always just so funny. Anyway, bugs infested the station and we need to take them out through the power of Bing Bing Wahoo. You know how it goes. The first level is full of switches that start platforms moving, which allow you to progress in the level, and there's a lot of those here. Other than that, nothing we haven't seen before. In level 2, the zoom in bug thing happens again, which again is always annoying. And there's some crushers here and the level ends. Man, I feel gross writing this script. It feels like I'm not even trying. But I'm being as honest as I can. There is nothing exciting about this at all. Nothing new, it's just more the same. Why is this the game that's making me lose my mind in the video? There is no way I'm being driven insane by Wreck-It Ralph on the Nintendo 3DS. On to level 3, oh hey, something new. This level has a quote-unquote switch minigame. A bunch of panel lights up in a row, and if you pull the switch above them, it will deactivate or reactivate that laser wall of whichever panel was lit up. It's pretty basic, but hey, at least it's something new. It also doesn't happen that often to ruin the pace of the game or something, if that even matters at this point. Level 4, there is again something new here. Neat. There is one other level like this, I believe, where you have to collect 3 gears which are pretty close to each other to continue the level. Once you grab them all on this level, you can repair the thing that needs to be repaired, which in this case, it's a robot. So we give the robot life. It removes the stuff in our path, and it kills itself. We just gave sentience to a robot, and it immediately commits suicide. Anyway, that's pretty much it. There's nothing else new here. So we beat the level and we're on to World 3. Remember, there is no boss yet. At the start of World 3, Sugar Rush, we get another cutscene of them wanting to find Vanellope before the bugs do. Like I said before, I think this is the worst visually looking level in the entire game. I can feel like some people might find it fine, but for me I just find it gross to look at. I don't know why. Might be something to do with bad color theory, I don't know. In level 1, we have a lot of repairing. That's pretty much it. However, now that we beat each of the first level, I can talk about something. I have a personal issue with games that let a player pick any world they want to start, because there are technically 3 different level 1s, because there are 3 worlds in the game. Because of this, I feel like the developer is forced to make each of those levels easy, since any one of them could be the first level a player plays. So instead of making a 2D or 3D platformer harder over time, as it should, what ends up happening is something annoying. In the first world, the level is easy, and then it becomes a bit more difficult, and then you beat that world. When you get to World 2, the first level's now easy, and then it becomes a bit more difficult. World 3, the first level's easy, and then it becomes a bit more difficult. Instead of doing that progressive, more difficult over time aspect, which I like in my platformers, it doesn't do that, it just keeps resetting. Now, I went on a bit of a rant about this, but I'm also realizing something now. I don't even know if the devs had the foresight to even think about this in this game. Anyway, enough about me mumbling, on to level 2. This is the level I wrote most about in my notes. It is 4 lines compared to the 2 lines in the other levels. More about the level though. This level also has a repair mechanic where you have to collect several collectibles to repair a car, like the gear and the robot before. And to no one's surprise, it breaks your path once you get them all, and then crashes and explodes. Like, could they not do anything else? I also laughed at this bit, I don't know why, but once you get to this mint area, the camera does this like cinematic movement. It's like the devs are trying to show you how awesome this area is, which I mean, to be fair, it doesn't really look that bad, but it didn't really need that camera movement. You can also climb on nothing in this level. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Level 3 actually uses something that hasn't been mentioned yet. Felix has a boomerang attack with his wrench, which is actually pretty strong and can one-shot some of the enemies. In this level, you can use it to activate switches to open doors, which is the only level you do this in. This is an interesting mechanic, and it's only for 1 level. Why? There's nothing else to this level. So with that, we move on to level 4, the final level. Now watch this sick jump. Wasn't that awesome? There's nothing new in this level. However, since we beat all the levels, we now need to beat the bosses, so let's do that. Each boss level start with a cutscene, and they get really out of hand. Like, look at this. For the first boss of the game, a big boss sneaks up on them, so we walk up and punch it. And then we punch it a couple more times, and it goes down. This is what I meant by, I don't know why you couldn't just do all of World 1 and then this boss, because this is just brainless. I will be fair and honest as always. The boss does have some moves, like dashing into you and yeah, that's pretty much it. After that boss, we get a cutscene of Felix fixing something which somehow stops the bugs, which I don't think is ever explained to us. Nothing ever is. So with that, we move on to boss 2. Look at this, what the hell are they doing, man? They get on a hoverboard and find the mother bug, and the fight begins. This boss is actually kind of engaging. It would have been way better if there was any semblance of difficulty, but unfortunately, there isn't. You need to punch the boss a bunch, and then when the boss goes down, while the boss is knocked down, the barriers around the map go offline, which allow you to swap to Felix to fix them. When you fix them all, this beats the boss. This boss is engaging because you get to swap between both characters and use both of their skill sets. It's very cool. However, because there's no difficulty to this at all, there's just no substance to it. Anyway, we get a cutscene and just look at her. This looks nothing like her character at all. Like, who is this? On to the third boss, and Ralph is complaining that he has to go to the top of the mountain. Felix complains as well, but Ralph says don't worry, he will just eat all the ice cream in the way because he is bigger. However, the boss decides to appear anyway, but it's kind of a hint at what we need to do. This boss is kind of odd. It's slowly shooting balls at you, which break the ice cream blocks slowly. To get to the boss, you need to break the ice cream with Ralph's fist. The boss is trying to attack you, which in turn breaks the ice cream, which in turn lets you get to the boss easier to beat him down. I just don't understand. The boss is making it easier for you to get to him. After you punch the boss a few times, he goes down. This boss can actually kill you if you don't jump over his projectile, but it's easily timed. In the end cutscene, they start complaining about ice cream together and forget all about Vanellope, because that's why we were in this world in the first place, to rescue her, which we didn't do. But after that, we get transported to the final boss. In the cutscene, this blue guy appears, who I don't remember at all from the movie, and he's not even mentioned in the game at all. I have no clue who this is. He says something worse is coming for us, and we need to take down the big bug, and that's what we try to do. He tells us we need to attract his tentacles to damage him. We fix the switches around the map, which magnetize the tentacles, then swap to Ralph and punch them. Do that 4 times, and he's down. Again, a pretty neat idea and quite engaging for the final boss. However, because it's not difficult at all, there's nothing to it, just like the second boss. After we beat him, we get a cool CG runaway explosion. Nice. Ralph says everyone is happy and everything's back to normal. The game is now over. This game has almost 10 minutes of credits. What? Once you beat the game, you unlock a new, harder New Game Plus mode, which is just the normal game with no checkpoints, and well, it says it's harder, but I replayed a few of the levels in this mode, and it didn't really change that much, if even at all. This game probably takes the average person 1 hour to beat. I did it in one recording session, and that is Wreck-It Ralph for the 3DS. I think the biggest issue I actually have with this game isn't the quality itself. The overall rating and quality of the game, it's just eh. There's nothing really horrid about it. It just looks very cheap and there was like no passion put into it. But the game is playable. I guess is the biggest compliment I can give the game quality wise. But my biggest complaint is that the movie had a bunch of fictional video games in the movie itself. Fix-It Felix, which they made into a real arcade cabinet for a bit, a space shooter game, and a racing game. And they did absolutely nothing with them. Not even a side mode where you unlock the Fix-It Felix arcade game or something. Instead, what do you get out of a movie that is about video games? A generic 2D platformer with nothing exciting going for it at all. Is this the worst platformer ever made? I don't think so, but this is the most disappointed I have been with a video game adaptation of a movie. They could have done so much more, but they didn't. And it's a good thing we never got Wreck-It Ralph 2. Wait. I forgot to mention the music. There's like 7 tracks in the game. I mean, they're all right.